Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Robbie Basel show. I know. I got the DMs. I got my phone out here. You guys have been spamming about me for not posting in 9 days. I know. I know it's been over a week. You guys can shut up about it. But, as a prize for you guys waiting so long, we have a special guest again. It's Dylan Shalom
I'm
back
I'm a
again.
I'm a prize.
Yeah, of
Yeah, all
course.
right, all
You're
right.
you're like what some of these teams were going for in the transfer window in the Premier League, the big money signing, as that is what we
I
were talking about today.
I appreciate it.
Not just transfers, but the 2024-25 Premier League season. We're doing it again. Last year we had, this is going to sound miraculous, a combined watch time of five. So the videos we had three videos, three-part series last year. It was over 5.5 hours long,
Yep, I
which
remember
is
those.
insanity. So hopefully we'll probably be doing that again, aren't we?
Yeah,
Probably even more. Who knows?
realistically, that's gonna be what happens again.
Yeah.
But
So if you guys like watching this type of stuff, hit the like button down below because we like having Dylan here because he loves talking football. I love talking football. So let me just shut up and toss it over to Dylan, where you know how this works, chat. We do 20 to 1, and we're gonna do a signing of the season and a flop of the season. And whoever has the worst prediction out of one of the team's worst prediction has to do a commentary in the end of the season. That's how this works. So Dylan, give it to you. You're the guest. Who do you have in 20th in 2024?
yeah, most definitely, I appreciate the introduction. I'm happy to be here. And 20th place, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna give it to the team that's just the least established, has the least Premier League talent in their roster, and it's unfortunately gonna be Ipswich Town. It's a historic team that over the course of time in the championship have been battling relegation from the championship, and now that they're finally up, I just don't think that they have the personnel to bang it with the big boys. I have them going down relatively comfortably, the same way I felt about Luton last year. I just don't see a future for them. Now, there are some positives in this team. Leif Davis is one of the better left backs in the league from the jump. He was fighting for a spot in the England national team in the championship. Omari Hutchinson, I think, will have a good year, but after that, it's really weak. I just don't think they have anything that's Premier League quality after that, so they're going to be 20th.
The only part I know, looking at your predictions and mine, is that we actually have very similar bottom fives, just in completely different orders. And for the second season in a row, we disagree on 20th.
Ooh.
So that's already off to a great start. I picked Southampton as 20th.
Okay.
Now this I liked what they were trying to do. You get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make signings to stay up. The picks they had sucked. Like the first off rip, they signed Adam Lallana off rip. I'm
Ooh.
like, okay, not what I was expecting. But they signed Taylor Harwood Bellis, which I know who at least. To be fair, last year when we were looking through like Luton and some of these other teams, we had no idea who they were until like the day of the video. I actually know who Taylor Harwood Bellis is. He came from Man City. He was like a younger center back. I just think he kind of sucks. 23 million though, I think is like an okay evaluation, but it's not great, not bad. Brereton Diaz, I actually like Brereton Diaz. I have for a good amount of time from Villarreal, but like I just have no confidence in them. Like, just listen, Southampton, I think, will be coming into the season with some expectation of staying up because they are teams, some in particular, that might be in complete shambles. I'm not naming anyone in particular, Leicester City, but because of the charges and whatever, Man City could be joining them, but who knows? I just don't think. I like what they tried to do. They picked the wrong people. I think they could have spent their money a little bit better. I like the personnel they have. I just have no confidence in them.
Yeah,
Southampton, I know they're going to get relegated, but the way that 16th to 20th, I think, is so interchangeable. I'm going to put Southampton bottom. Unlucky for them this season. They'll go back down to the championship because, like last year, I didn't pick the team that went to the playoff because they weren't even in the top three of the championship last year. I don't
sure.
have enough confidence in them. I'm putting them 20th. So, Dylan, we'll pass it over to 19th, and I think I know who you have in 19th this season.
Yeah, I believe you do. Yeah, we were texting about it. I have longtime Premier League team. They've just been there forever, but Wolverhampton Wanderers are going down this year. This is the time where it just isn't going to work out. Now, if you look at what they had last year, Wolves were a very hard-fighting team under Gary O'Neill, and they had one or two players on the offensive side of the ball that were really standouts. Now you have one of them because Pedro Neto went to Chelsea to sit on the bench. So you look at the rest of Wolves and you have one international player in João Gomez. You have a third of Mateus Cunha because he shows up once every 3 games. And then the defense is just disgustingly bad. You have a defender who doesn't know how to defend in Ryan Aït-Nouri, former MLS star Yerson Mosquera, Nelson Semedo's left leg, maybe? There's no real defender on this team that I can look at and say to myself, this team is going to stay. I'm actually going to now look at their roster and actually just read off. Yeah, Nelson.
Wang Yi-Shan's the only player I remember. Wang Yi-Shan was the only guy I really remember.
Nelson Semedo, Yerson Mosquera, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Hugo Bueno, Pedro Enrique Cardoso de Lima, known as the next Cafu, 18 years old. Good luck. You'll be
Cafu in the championship. You'll be Cafu in the championship in your life.
Justin Hubner. You're relying on Jose Sa to keep out 14 goals a game. This team is going to be terrible defensively. And you look at the offensive side of the ball and the midfield. You have 33-year-old Mario Lemina. I think I just sniped his age. Nope, 30. 30-year-old Mario Lemina. João Gomez.
Did he leave?
No, Lemina's still there.
Nelson Lemina. Noah Lemina, he left. My bad. The other Lemina left.
Yeah, Gadesh is still there, João Gomez, but then Strand Larson, He Huang Chan, Mateus Cunha, Daniel Padense still there. It's just the same team that's been bad without their best player and no defenders. So, 19th.
Fair enough. I mean, I get what you're coming at. I actually don't have Wolves getting relegated to GG's the Wolves. I have Ipswich in 19th.
Yeah.
Look, Ipswich. Your run to where you are now is very admirable. Now, please turn into Luton, step aside, go lose like 1,000,000 one-goal games and leave. Now, to their credit, they did sign my boy Amari Hutchinson, the Jamaican player, for $23 million, which fair play. They signed a guy from Hull, which once again fair play, but I don't think they've only made 2 competent signings. They didn't do enough. They're gonna get destroyed. But they're going to play with more heart than everyone else, and I think that's going to get them more wins than Southampton somehow, because that's just how this works. They did lose a couple of competent players. What's hilarious to me is that their transfer income was $1.6 million. For those who know how much $1.6 million is, $1.6 million gets you Kiefer Moore. So, fair enough. I mean, they bought a lot. They sold nothing. Well, I mean, they took a lot of players for free in retirements, but they didn't do enough. They're not very good. They're going to go 19th, which puts us to the final team in relegation. This one took me 2 hours to figure it out. I don't know about you, but I think our picks are going to be completely different for 18th as well. Who do you have 18th, Dylan?
Well, I know our picks are going to be different because I have Southampton in 18th. Which you had in last. Southampton, I wanted to touch on them when you were talking about them. I thought I'd just leave it to now, though. This is a team that is built for the championship. Again, it's the same with the other Ipswich who came up. It's a team built for the championship. But it's a team that's a little bit better suited for the Premier League because they have more players that have played in the Premier League. Now, you were hating on the Adam Lallana transfer. I'm not a huge fan of that as your main transfer, but I think he adds something of value into this team where you have someone who knows how to play in Premier League games. But they also have a lot of really fast players and really big players on this team. You look at the defense, and you have Bella Kotchap, who was one of the best center backs in the championship last year, and I still think could be a good Premier League center back. He's shown it in spurts when they've been up. Jan Bednarak, stable center back in the Premier League. Taylor Hardwood-Bellis, I've never really seen it in him, and he's been around forever. He's been at Burnley, Blackburn, City's Academy. He's been everywhere. but he just hasn't really panned out, so I don't really see the fee. Armstrong and Brereton Diaz also used to be Blackburn players. Both of them scored a lot of goals for them, a bit of a pipeline. But it was the one signing that they made, it was 2 seasons ago, they signed the better Carlos Alcaraz in the midfield. And that is a guy that is going to need to be their main player if they're going to stay up. He signed for Juventus earlier this year, but then they sent him back. So it might have been a loan. Managed by championship regular manager Russell Martin, also MLB catcher. And this team really just needs to it's a matter of can they outlast teams that are just professional relegation avoiders. So we're talking about the Nottingham Forests and the Evertons and the Bournemouths and the Leicesters. Those are the teams they have to outlast. I don't think they have it in them.
So 18th. So the only reason I have this team 18th is because they're rumored to get a massive points deduction in a couple of months. And I'm looking through their roster again, and I know it's not very good. Leicester's 18th, and I really hate myself putting Leicester 18th. Because I was thinking, okay, so this decision took me forever. Because originally, I had Nottingham Forest here, but then I forgot about the charges. So I did the math in my head of where I had Leicester originally and where I'm dropping them with the rumored points deduction, and 18th is where they slid, which is actually kind of pathetic. But here we are. They're 18th. Now, they do have a lot of good players. Kieran and Dewsbury Hall left? Oh, yeah, they're totally screwed. They lost Kieran and Dewsbury Hall to our boys from Chelsea. Todd Bowley is literally trying to take everyone and everything. Hide your young players. That's all I'm going to say. But at the end of the day, if you're rolling out Jamie Vardy still, like, are you really? I know you won the championship with this man, but, like, fair enough. Go right ahead. My big question for them is in net. Their goalkeepers, what I'm seeing on their roster, are not that good. I mean, you have Danny Ward, Mads Hermansen, Daniel Iverson, and Jakub Storlajic. Now, I'll be honest, I know a couple of them, but I don't know are they Premier League quality, you think?
So
Not really, right?
Danny Ward has played a couple of seasons in the league. I don't think he's quite Premier League quality at this point, but he won't kill them.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, if we're getting Danny Ward from the World Cup, we're screwed because they could finish bottom because he was pathetic in the World Cup, and that's all I'm gonna put on that one. But their team, they're not bad. What it's really going to come down to I think the bottom six for me is who's going to beat who. Because if you can't beat one of the teams that kind of sucks, not naming teams, Ipswich, if you can't beat like the Ipswich teams, the Southamptons, even Leicester, even though King Power is actually difficult to play in, you're going to be in major trouble. Which is why I have a specific team 17th. That's not Everton, by the way. I don't have Everton 17th.
Wow, Everton are perennially 17th.
Steffi Mavididi, I actually know who that is. They're fun. Their forwards are actually not terrible. The midfield's meh. The defense is meh. I'm just not confident in them enough. They're also going to get a massive point. If they don't get a points deduction, they're going to be like 15th. But if they do get it, I think they're going to be relegated. So, Dylan, we get to send our relegation friends back down to the championship, say kumbaya, deuces, and we go to the teams that are on the fringe of relegation. And last year, we were both thinking on the same page. This year, it's completely different. So who do you have 17th this go around?
Yeah, I mean, 17th is just the perennial 17th place team, and that's Everton, who do not finish any higher than 15th and do not get relegated at this point in time. And this is another team that I think is going to get hit with points deduction just because that's always what happens, and Mussery has not done anything to fix their misconduct, even though Man City will never get hit with it. But Everton does not have a team that is built for the Premier League. Their roster is not good enough to be in the Premier League. They're reliant on 3 or 4 good pieces, and that's Jordan Pickford, that's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that's Vitaly Mykolenko, and that is Jared Branthwaite. After that, it's really, and Decore is a Premier League player, but after that, it's really just a bunch of guys that should not be starting games in this league. James Garner, I'll give some players credit where it's due. The signings they made this window were realistically not good. Ilman Ndiaye was not even a great striker in Ligue 1. Jesper Lindstrom came off of a very disappointing season at Napoli. It's just not what you want to see, but the reason they'll stay up is because of the players I named just now, but also because Sean Dyche does not get relegated. He's immune to relegation. So they will play good defensive soccer in every situation that they need to. They'll win some games they shouldn't win. They'll get an away draw against Arsenal because that always seems to happen. And they'll figure a way to end 4 points ahead of the relegation zone, be safe on the final day.
17th, I went with a team you had in the relegation zone, and that's Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, there were another team. It was really a 3-team race for this spot, and I put Leicester down in 18th because I have a feeling that points deduction is going to send them to hell, known as the Championship. Wolves, I'm going to give them some credit real quick. They've made over $100 million on 2 players. That's impressive, especially when you're Wolves. However, selling those 2 players may be their entire downfall because Max Kilman's actually competent and Pedro Neto was their only real midfielder on the team. Now, last year, we made the joke about Ruben Neves and how they failed to replace Ruben Neves. Well, I guess the joke this year is that they're going to sell Pedro Neto and just not replace him. Somehow they're going to sign some Portuguese player for like $2 million, and he's going to be a demigod. Daniel Podence, I actually know who that is. He's actually Portuguese, and he's pretty solid. So I don't hate the move for him. Pedro Lima from Sport Recife, also a player I know who that is. Shocking, I know. He's not bad. Tommy Doyle kind of sucks. He's from City. He's not very good. Really slow. But
that's another one that I didn't understand why he's still on that team.
Yeah, it's just like the wages, I guess. I mean, because some of the wages were really bad. The big one was Gomez from Braga, which the Portuguese theme still lives on. I just don't know about them. Listen, Hwang Yi-chan, I like him as a striker, but not enough to put them, like, have him lead an attack that would destroy ones like Nottingham Forest, ones like Bournemouth. I just don't see it in them. I think they could go out there and beat some decent teams because that's just how they are. But I'm just not convinced they're going to finish higher than like 16th. So I thought 17th. They're going to be in the relegation scrap 100%. I believe so, at least, and I think you do as well. You already mentioned them being relegated. The question for them is going to be, how is that midfield going to look? Jose Sa in goal is fine. The defense, I think, is going to hold up enough. I think they're just going to get so outmatched in the midfield, which leads to that defense being more vulnerable. So I think Wolves are going to finish 17th. It's going to be an ugly season from them, but I think in the future this team could be on the up if they stay.
Yep.
That's the big question for them, is if they stay. So Dylan, 17th, we're going to kick those teams down. They should be kicked to the curb. But who do you have in 16th?
16, I have Leicester. And it's a team that if they get hit with financial charges, they'll get relegated. But I'm not going to take that into effect because we have absolutely no idea what's planned in FFP. So I have them coming 16th. I don't think Jamie Vardy's going to be an important piece of this team. I think they'll be playing Daka and they'll be playing Fatawu instead. But what really strikes me about this team in a positive light is how many players that aren't going to be in that starting 11 that I know who they are. There's a lot of solid depth pieces on this Leicester team. You look at the defense, and you're going to be starting Okoli, who you just brought in. You're going to be starting Fias, but then you also have Yannick Vestergaard. You also have Connor Cody. You also have Victor Christensen. There's a lot of players on this team that are not going to be getting regular minutes that can put in a shift, and that's going to be a reason that they stay up. Their problem is going to come from the sides because they have not been able. Steffi Mafididi is not a bad player, but I don't think he's the creator you want on a wing. And then opposite side of him, what do you have? You have maybe out of position Patson Daka, Bobby De Cordova Reed, who they brought in. Yeah, that's not even a terrible option. So they have stuff going for them. Midfield looks okay. Ndidi's a husk of himself. Harry Winks still exists, I guess. Uh, Boubacar Samari never panned out to be what he was supposed to be, but he's still a solid piece. Hamza Chowdhury is Hamza Chowdhury. I don't really have much to say about him. But overall, it's just a team with 15th to 16th place players, and also Harry Sutar, who's gonna play a couple minutes and is terrible. But that
Fair
was
enough.
that was an unnecessary Harry Sutar stray. He's tall. He's very tall. But they're gonna be in 15th to 16th place. I have him 16th.
Fair enough. I have the team you put in 17th and 16th, and that is Everton.
Yeah.
So, if you remember, like, gone are the Everton days where they're in, like, ninth, 10th, actually being
Fifth.
competent. Fifth. Yeah, I remember the fifth.
Lukaku, Ross
We
Barkley.
lost to them. We dropped points both times to them that year. Very sad times. But gone are those days, and enter the days where they made, how much was it? 83.15 million in transfer income, which for them is impressive. Now, granted, it was mostly the other Onana going to Aston Villa for a lump sum of money that could be switched to a Swiss bank account, as well as Ben Godfrey going to Atalanta for some reason,
Wait,
which
that is a FIFA career mode transfer if I've ever seen one.
Ben Godfrey, my boy, going to Atalanta
You mean
for
Bergamo Calcio? He went to Bergamo Calcio.
yeah. For 12 million. They also sold Dobbin, which Aston Villa loves raiding Everton. I guess Aston Villa and Everton should be a club themselves. But at the end of the day, you're 100% right. This team's going to do nothing. They're going to be in the relegation conversation. They might get a points deduction again because that's just how this works. They have some competent players. Goodison Park, isn't this like the end of Goodison Park as well?
I think this is last year, yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I originally had them not going down was that Goodison Park is dying and they should not go down in the year that Goodison Park
Yeah.
dies. So we don't have to say GGs to two things. So I like this is a name I've never gotten, this is what they did with Villa. Irigbom? Irigbom? I forgot that they
I,
signed him for
I,
10.
I know who you're talking about. The pronunciation's off for me.
I
It's
don't Irogama, whatever. Listen, it's sad enough where I can pronounce the
Irogbinam.
Kazakhstan. How is it?
Irogbinam is what I've got
Sure.
out of it, but
I can pronounce Thailand and Kazakhstan players, and I can't pronounce that name. Shocking.
and he's
Uh,
English.
th- what is it?
He's English.
Miraculous.
Yeah.
That just makes perfect sense. We got O'Brien from from Lyon. I actually know that is. He's actually kind of decent, but I just don't know if he's going to work on Everton because who knows who works on Everton anymore other than Onana. Ndiaye, I think that's how you say it, from
Yeah.
Marseille. Not bad player. He's just coming into a terrible situation. They've done nothing else. Oh, and they brought back from the loan Neil. Is it Mapai
Yeah,
from Brentford?
Mapai, yeah.
Mapai. There you go.
So
Comes back. So meme players still exist. The team of memes stays up. I have them finishing 16th because he
I,
was on loan at Brentford.
yeah. I want to speak on Ndiaye a little bit more though. This is a guy that they brought in. He's meant to be their starting striker this year, and
That's right.
he scored 3 goals last year in Ligue 1. 30 matches, 3 goals.
I was just about to bring that up. I almost completely forgot about that because it's in my notes.
He is not going to be the answer. They're going to be switching back to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. They should have found something elsewhere. But we'll move out of this spot where we're talking
Dumpster
about
fire. I mean, Everton,
Everton's.
like, we just don't know. Like, because, yeah, they have Calvert-Lewin. They have some other decent pieces. But they sold two of their better players again. And like Wolves, they failed to replace them with competent pieces.
That's one thing that even in the Premier League, you have to replace your players. There's no way around it. Even if you're bringing in someone for less money, you have to have some form of replacement. It can't happen where you just leave the spot open.
Exactly. It's like, at this rate, they should have just bought Eddie Nketiah to get him off Arsenal. But unfortunately, Eddie Nketiah is still here, even though we knew of a transfer for him 2 months ago. Does it make sense? Absolutely not. Just like this next pick. I'm actually going to start this one because I wanted to talk about them first, and that is the team that I originally had getting relegated, but I talked myself out of it, and that is Nottingham Forest because I just hate Nuno Espirito Santos. That's it.
Yeah.
I think he's not the manager that this team needs. Now, they have my boy at striker, Taiwo Awanini, who should not be there. Any other team, and he would be miraculous. I love Taiwo Awanini, and I have for a long time. Morgan Gibbs White, great. They still have Chris Wood.
He scored 14 goals last year.
Weren't all of them were in like a 2 week stretch or something.
Yeah, he
It
had
was in like
eight,
one.
like 8 of them were in like
Yeah,
a month.
I think it was around like Christmas time too. It's like Merry Christmas. Here's 8 goals. They also got my guy Callum Hudson-Odoi. FIFA career mode players know how good Callum Hudson-Odoi is. They're
Also, when
like,
he was mentioned on that fake Epstein list.
oh, that's right. That's true. Oh, and they got a Manchester United speedster that failed. Alanga, for the
Yeah.
Swede. Our fellow Swedes are back, but they got Elliot Anderson, who's like not bad. Didn't they just sign
They paid
him?
40 million for him.
Yeah, I didn't get that one
They
because
paid
I was like,
$40 million for Elliot Anderson. That was going to be the first thing that I
isn't
said
that
when
in
we did it.
pounds and euros? So isn't it more in American dollars?
Yeah, it is. You're right. But
Oh God.
this is a team that has no idea. This has nothing to do with how they're going to do this year. Just they have no idea what the concept of transfer money is because they paid that much for Anderson. They tried to sell Morgan Gibbs White for $100 million.
They did.
They brought in what's it called? They brought in Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, and Ola Aina for
Yeah.
practically free.
Yes.
And Sangare was like 50 or like 30 something million. They just
Yeah.
like are always way off on their valuations, and it hasn't killed them yet. They haven't done anything that's like taking them down to the championship. But it's just confusing. Like Elliot
I agree.
Anderson signing for that much money is malpractice, but I feel like it might work.
It could. It very much could. I like Elliot Anderson, but like, you're right. I was just about to get to that 41 million. Jesus Christ. They also signed Jota Silva from I think it's Guimarães, the club in Portugal. He's not bad. I've actually seen him play before. He's not terrible, but he's like not prem worthy.
Yeah.
I think it's how you put it. And they got Milenkovic from Fiorentina. I think that's your domain, so I think you
Yeah.
better. I
No.
haven't watched enough Fiorentina film other than when they signed De Gea, so
Now
Uh,
this is a good player.
it's a good one. There
He's
you
gonna
go.
be good.
They signed a couple other players that you probably don't even know who they are. But what's even more crazy is that Nottingham Forest still made money this transfer window. They still had a positive.
Yeah.
They were not in the mud. They sold 83 million pounds or euros on this of players. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know how they're getting away with this. They're still a decent team. Nuno Espirito Santo is going to lose to Southampton, but beat Tottenham because that's just how this works. They're going to be I think they're going to be in a relegation spot for most of the year and then climb out of it. That's just how it is.
Okay.
So I am going to rock with Nottingham Forest in my 15th position. But Dylan, who do you have 15th?
Well, we have the same answer here. We both have Nottingham Forest 15th, but I have it different than you. I think they're going to be a comfortable 15th. Not really fighting, but also just not competing for anything. I agree with you in the sentiment. I don't really like Nuno Espirito Santo. I don't think he's one of the premier coaches in the league. I don't even think he's one of the top 15 coaches in the league. But what I've always complained about with Nottingham Forest in every video we've done is that there is just no system. This is a group of individuals playing a team game. And at this point, I think that this group of individuals is good enough to win games on their own without Nuno Espirito Santo really instilling anything into them. So you have Morgan Gibbs White, who was valued at $100 million at one point, but he is a very good player. He is potentially an England player. And then you also have Taiwo Awanini, Chris Wood, who put in 14 goals last season, Elliot Anderson, who you paid big bucks for, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Anthony Alanga, guys that were supposed to be the truth. And you have midfielders like Remo Freuler and Nicolas Dominguez, who were very good in their own domestic leagues before coming in, and Remo Freuler's made a very big impact at Nottingham Forest since he's been there. You've got veterans. You've got Voldemort, John Joe Shelby. You've got Ryan Yates, Nico Williams, Matt Sells. You have 4 goalkeepers that could start this year, which is really weird, but there's just a lot of players that are good on this team. That's really the way of saying it. I'm looking at the bottom row of this roster, and Emmanuel Dennis is there, who could start. So it's similar to Leicester in a way where it's just a lot of guys that are capable starters that if they get into injury problems, they won't have problems. And then it's also, they really do have quality. Like the quality in Morgan Gibbs-White is undeniable. The quality in Nikola Milenkovic, you will see, is very, very good. And Murillo was good at the back end of last year. Danilo was good at the back end of last year. This is a team that was supposed to be fighting very hard for relegation, and they ended up surviving pretty comfortably. So I think they'll be fine.
So I like that pick, actually. Both of us having Nottingham Forest, of course. So we'll just keep moving along into 14th, and I really have a feeling we're going to be completely different on this. Who do you have 14th?
So I have Bournemouth 14th, and
Yeah, we're completely different on this.
Last year I had them 11th, and I liked how they did last year, but I just don't see enough of an improvement in their team, and they lost Dominic Solanke. They were the Dominic Solanke club last year, and other than bringing in Dean Huijsen, who I really like as a center back, I just don't see the improvements in this team in order to compete at the same level that I thought they were going to last year. The replacement that they have for Dominic Solanke is Enes Unal. And Enes Unal played a lot last year in a 4-4-2. He is going to be their one starting striker this year. They haven't replaced Solanke. So that's why they're going to finish as low as 14th. This is a team that could be as good as 10th in my eyes. But without a Solanke replacement, it's just not going to happen.
I like the way you went with this, and I'm going to go to a team that also didn't address striker at all, and a team that you rated really low last season. Fulham. Hello. Welcome. Enjoy your stay. You know, they bought my boy Emile Smith-Rowe, who we'll talk about him possibly later. I mean, goalkeeping's... I like Bernd Leno, but it could be better. The defense is all right. The midfield's okay. This team is just okay. I think there's a good shot that this team finishes higher. There's a very good shot, I think, that this team finishes higher. But I just feel like they don't have any goal scoring still. Like, Emile Smith-Rowe, I don't think we've seen enough out of him to solidify him as a goal scorer. I feel like he's more of a compliment than a goal scorer. So, like, where are you going to play him? Are you going to rely on him to score goals? He's a big money signing for $32 million, which I don't know how the hell Arsenal got $32 million for fair play. They also sold my boy João Palhinha. They've not done anything to replace him, so that's also part of this. And they also, they lost one of their leaders in Tim Ream. They've lost a couple other players. I just see this team doing nothing. This is going to be the worst team to watch on television, unless you're a U.S. fan and you like Jedi Robinson streaking down the left side, just doing whatever he wants over there. I have no hope for this team, but they're not terrible enough to be relegated. So I think 14th is a perfect spot for them, because they're good enough to beat some of the bad teams. They're not going to be able to beat the good teams. That's just how it is at this part of the league, so I'm going to put Fulham in 14th. They're just not good enough. They didn't do enough. Like, yeah, sign a striker. Wow, this team really is like Arsenal. They sign an Arsenal player. They have no strikers that are competent. The way it is. I love it. Moving right along, I know we're different in this too, because I looked at your rankings and I looked at mine. This is going to be so different. Who do you have 13th, Dylan?
I have Vibes FC in 13th, Crystal Palace.
Good.
And this was a team that, had they held on to, in my eyes, one of the best players in the world in Michael Olise, they could have been in the top 8. But him leaving is going to send them back into full Crystal Palace, which is 46 points and 13th place. there is a lot to like on this roster, and I mean a lot to like on this roster, whether it be a Brecci Eze, who was good at the Euros for England this year, Jefferson Lerma, who was one of the best players in the Copa America for Colombia this year, and then just the stars in this team that make them so fun to watch, all comes down to one problem for them outside of not having Elise, who could just turn the game around and score any goal from anywhere at any time. The problem is that their goal-scoring striker last season, Jean-Philippe Mateta, went on the greatest soccer linsanity run I've ever seen, and I don't expect him to score 5 goals this year. This is not a good player, and he is not going to succeed this year.
Wow.
They have no other option on the back end of the bench for him. It would be Ismaila Sarr coming in for him if or when this doesn't work out, or Ousmane Edouard, who is just send him to St. Johnston or something. The scraps of Jordan Ayew, send him to Qatar or something.
Damn.
This team is very well built. They should be able to challenge for a European spot, but that problem will hold them back. I also don't particularly love the goalkeeping situation, but Dean Henderson is okay. I don't think he's anything better than okay. The defense will be good. The midfield will be great. They need a goal scorer. Jean-Philippe Mateta, if you prove me wrong, it'll be fun. I don't expect you to prove me wrong.
So this is another spot where it took me 18 years to figure this out. And I'm going controversial again. Now, in this spot, I'm just going to list you some teams that I've had in here. We had Brighton, Palace, Bournemouth, and the team I'm about to mention, all in this spot within the last 2 days. And this is where it gets really weird. I'm putting Brentford 14th. I am going after Brentford again. Now, last year, I praised the hell out of them. And I was wrong. I was very wrong. And I've learned my lesson, I think, to not like Brentford. Now, yes, they did sign Fabio Carvalho because that's how this works. But the one part I'm worried about for them, I'm more worried about their future than what I'm worried about this season. What are they going to do with Tony? He's heading towards the back end of his deal. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him because it's Brentford. I don't know why they haven't sold him yet. I don't know what they're trying to do.
The fact that they haven't sold him is mind-boggling because he's
Send him to... He should be on Tottenham.
Arsenal is going to offer $100 million for him at one point.
I at the beginning of the window, I said Tottenham is going to sign Ivan Toney. Well, Tottenham did sign a striker not named Ivan Toney, so I guess they don't like gamblers. Fair enough. I mean, they did gamble on Richarlison, so I thought they were going to stick with the theme with Ivan Toney, but I guess not. So instead, Ivan Toney's stuck here, and this is going to turn out to be one of the more hilarious things of the offseason, because I think Ivan Toney's on the last year of the deal.
Yeah.
So Brentford's really lost money on this. So this could be the beginning of the end for them. Now, granted, I love the defense. Rico Henry, Ethan Pinnock, Ben Mee, they're not bad. I think they're solid. Midfield's not bad. The one thing that hurt them last year was the defense, yes, but are you really trusting Yohan Wissa to score 12 goals again? Are you really? And Neil Mapai...
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Like, Mapai is gone, so hopefully Ivan Toney is going to score the goals for you now if he can stay healthy past however many games he played last year. Brian Mbeumo's respectable. I like Brian Mbeumo. He's a decent player. But I just don't think they did enough to, like, make me convinced about them. Also, goalkeeping's kind of sus for them. I don't like their goalkeepers at all. But I just don't like many teams' goalkeepers. That's just the way it is. I'm a big fan of goalkeepers, but, like, Mark Flecken, they have an Icelandic player, Valdemarsson, and Matthew Cox. This looks like the goaltending trio from the Chicago Blackhawks. It's, like, that bad. So, I'm not a fan of the goaltending. The defense is solid, but the depth is terrible. For Premier League standards, though, Aaron Hickey, shout out my guy Aaron Hickey, he's here.
Bologna legend Aaron Hickey.
Yes, Aaron Hickey. So, I mean, Christian Norgaard's like, I think he's still here, right? Is Christian
he's
Norgaard
there.
still here?
Christian Norgaard's still there, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's solid. They got a decent amount of players. I mean, last year they just weren't scoring enough, and they were like bottom 6 in goals conceded per match. I don't have enough faith in them, especially with the lack of addressing to the defense. I just don't have enough faith in them to be able to keep goals out of the back of the net. So I'm gonna put them where I have them. I think that's the main thing with them this season, and leaving them 14th. The Bees, they might be in for a rude awakening. I feel like this season,
I believe this is the
but
third. I think this is the 13th spot you're looking at right
yeah,
now.
I was 13th.
Yeah.
So let's head to 12th. Um, I'll let you take 12th because that's how the trend's been mostly with today.
Yeah.
So who do you have just falling short of top 10?
So in 12th, I have Brighton, and it's a team that I think they're going in the right direction after losing a good manager in De Zerbi. This is a team that was expected to be very, very good last year after losing a lot of players because that's always how it's been. They've been able to succeed after losing people. Now you have a lot of continuity in the team, but you also bring in some good young talent in Mats Vifer, and then you get another year of Valentin Barco, Ibrahim Osman, and then the big signing was Minta, who I think is going to be really, really good. Yakunba Minter, it was a new signing from Newcastle technically, but he played at Feyenoord last year,
Yeah.
Gambian international. He is going to be fantastic for this team. The reason that I don't have them any higher than this is again question marks in the striker position. It's Joao Pedro, Evan Ferguson. It's just not Danny Welbeck. You need a striker that's going to be scoring 15 goals or have a bunch of players in your team that are capable of scoring 8 or 9. I don't know that Brighton has that. Matoma's not good anymore. Their coach is 31 years old. So that's something to keep an eye on. Youngest manager in Premier League history, Fabian Herzler. He coached St. Pauli last year to promotion in the Bundesliga 2. I don't know if that's enough of a resume to take over a team that was in the Europa League last year, but we'll see how that works out. I think they have enough talent to at least finish 12th.
Good shout with Brighton. I actually almost put them 12th, but I didn't, and I'm gonna go with strikerless FC team like whatever. What is this 4 now?
Yeah.
Bournemouth. This is where I have Bournemouth. I was hesitant on Bournemouth. I've always been hesitant with Bournemouth. I have them 12th. So where did they go? They sold Solanke. Now, when we talked last, we were talking about what ifs with this team, if I remember correctly, and we were both saying that they're probably losing Solanke after this season.
Yeah.
So, let me just reveal the curtain. Transfers, come on in. Oh, there's no strikers. Perfect. Love that. Yeah, they signed no legit strikers. Dom Solanke's 19 Premier League goals. They replaced him with nothing. Okay. So everyone's like copy paste at this point. It's like when you're copying stuff into Microsoft Word. Everyone's doing the same strategy of not signing replacement players. What are we doing, guys? They signed 67 million worth of players. Sinisterra is okay, he's from Leeds. They signed was it Unal from Getafe?
Yeah.
What did we rate? What did you rate him? Like, I
I don't
wanted to know.
I don't think he's bad,
He's just
but
not
he,
good.
he was he was at Bournemouth at the back end of last year.
Yeah.
He was playing in the front too, but he's just not a front one striker.
Yeah.
He's been someone that's been around La Liga for a good amount of time and just hasn't really
Right.
succeeded enough.
They signed a striker from Sheffield. Apparently, that's the solution. And
Oh
they made
yeah,
a
great
very
idea.
interesting move on over the weekend. They signed Julian Araujo, which
MLS legend.
okay, okay. I mean, he played at Las Palmas last year because that's just how this
That's the
works.
homeland.
6.9 rating, nice. 1 goal in 25 matches. Have fun with Julian Araujo. They got some okay players. I'm just not convinced by them. I mean, Sinister on the wing, that's not great, but it's not bad. They didn't address. I mean, I just don't know where they're getting goals from. that's just the way it is. Goalkeepers, I love talking crap on goalkeepers. Neto is out, so who knows who's starting for them. And I believe no, they're not. And Enes Unal's already injured. That's amazing.
Oh,
When is he
that's a
out till?
problem.
When is he out till till deadline day? Sure.
That's a
How did he
problem.
pass How did he pass the medical?
He was there. He's been there. He was there
Oh,
from
well,
in January last year.
oh, that's right. Forgot about that. Semenyo's still there. He's gonna try and score goals. And you have players from some of the more random places. Shout out Burkina Faso with my boy Dango Altora, or
Yeah.
Altora, sure. And they got a bunch of random Oh, and shout out to American star player Tyler Adams and paired with Justin Kluivert. I'm actually intrigued to see how that looks once again because Kluivert had a good year last year, but Bournemouth they didn't do enough. All said and done, I have them 12. So let's go to the team that really is just missing out on the top 10. Who do you have in 11th, Dylan?
I have a team that I think could finish as high as sixth, and I just am being pessimistic with them because we don't know what's going to happen with one of their best players in Lucas Paqueta, who could be suspended forever. But I have West Ham coming in 11th. This
Ooh,
is a really, really well put together team, I want to say. It's
it is.
a team with a lot of top six talent. You look at Paqueta,
They
you look
do.
at Kudus, you look at Edson Alvarez, Jared Bowen, Juan Pisaka. I still think is up there with the best right backs in the Premier League. Kilman, their transfer window was flawless. Kilman, Fulkrug, Jean-Claire Todibo, Crescencio Somerville. And then you look at the long-staying players, Hauerd, Suchek, Fabianski's still good. Ward-Prowse has been there now for a bit. Chufal, Mavropanos. This team is very good. There's a problem, though. Remember last time we talked about West Ham and what they
Oh,
did?
yes. Yes, we do. And
And
this is
my
why I don't have
least
them top 8.
and my least favorite manager, other than some niche MLS managers that none of you will know, Julian Lopetegui. Let's talk about it.
Welcome.
When is he gonna resign? That's my question.
Um,
Is he gonna resign when they're on the brink of a Europa League berth?
I think Paqueta
Is
should
he
bet on that, to be
is
honest.
he gonna resign today? What which one is it gonna be? Is he gonna get fired for making an insensitive comment? Is is he going to bench Kudus and Paqueta in the first game? On the wheel of stupid Lopetegui moments, what will be the first thing to fall? Will he transfer away James Ward-Prowse for $3 million? There's an infinite list of things that he can screw up. So let's be creative. What is he gonna do? That's the question. That is why this team doesn't finish top half. Nothing to do with their roster, nothing to do with their lineup. Well, first of all, he has no tactics. That's another thing that we've seen with him. He has no tactics. With Wolves, it was hard work. Hope Diego Costa's 40-year-old self can annoy their defenders enough for our fast players to run in behind. And it worked to a degree. They didn't get relegated, but he got fired. So what is he going to do to make this team a top six? This is a team that on paper should be top eight, top six even maybe. But he negates them just that little bit, 11th place.
Fair enough. We'll talk about West Ham later, and you'll see why I am in love with this team in about 10 minutes or so.
Very reasonable. This is a team that is worth
Yes.
being in love with, but there's just that one asterisk for me.
Yeah, fair enough. So in 11th, we have the team that I had in 13th last year, and that is the perennial underachieving and now sort of frustrating Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, move this a second. I am not happy with you. I'm kidding. That's like my alter ego. I wanted them to keep Elise. They would have made the Europa Conference League over Chelsea. They would have done everything right. They would have signed a legitimate goal scorer. But no, you had to send him to Bayern. Are you trying to be Fulham? Are you trying to be like Fulham?
I will say, I'm much happier that he's at Bayern than him ruining his career at United or Chelsea or Liverpool.
Touche.
It's much better that he's outside of the Premier League.
Listen, I would have taken him on Arsenal.
That would have been nice for you.
That would have been a lot of fun. But regardless, this Crystal Palace team, I'm just not convinced they're going to do anything anymore. Ismail Assar, I've actually know who that is. Fun story. We're going to do a little bit story time because that's what we do nowadays on this channel. Ismail Assar was, I think it was like 2 years ago, was rumored in a transfer because a YouTuber sent out one tweet with no sources and changed the betting odds and
I
almost made
remember
it
that.
happen.
I remember that.
That is one of the most hilarious. And I was on watching his stream. Shout out Zealand, who I've shouted out like 5 times. I almost got him on the
Shout out
channel.
Zealand. That's a great shout. I like Zealand.
The
Zealand's a
goat.
good YouTuber. Yeah.
They signed Kamada for free. From Lazio. I actually kind of like that move. They signed a lot of loan players. They're really following the football manager tactic, and of course they sold Michael Olise. Like they didn't do a lot. They didn't do nothing. Eberechi Eze, who I felt like would have left first, because that's just because I mean, he's not better than Olise, but like a lot of teams probably would have taken Eze because he's valued at like nothing at this point, because he's worth less than Elise to some, but more than it doesn't make any sense. I like Eze. He's gonna try and carry this team. Apparently Zaha is rumored to come back,
Yeah,
which
I saw that.
okay, like sure Zaha and Eze. Oh, I screw with it. I like that. But will it get them higher than 11th? Absolutely not. His team is going to be in 11th, carried on the backs of Eberechi Eze, and a player who should really not be on this team. He's too good to be here. He's too good for this team. I think he'll shine, but you'll question: is he shining because of like his team is good around him? Is he shining because his team sucks and like they need someone to score, or like will he ever leave this team? I think it's partially that, but also I think the main reason why he's still here is that I think their management's taking the mindset of what they did with Zaha and just rinse and repeating it, because I
Yeah.
have a feeling they value as a like 80 mil. I don't think anyone's gonna pay 80 mil. Kind of like Branthwaite, because what Jared Branthwaite out of Everton was supposed to be on Manchester United and not Lenny Euro. Remember that, because it was supposed to be Branthwaite first, but they wanted like a lot, and then United. We'll talk about Lenny Euro later, and Hospital Bed FC in a minute. But like it's the same. It's the same situation. Palace screwed up. It's their fault for that part. They've done okay in the window. They've done nothing. That's okay, I guess. Their team's still good enough, I think, to finish 11th. So let's go to the top half. We're already taking forever, because that's just how this series works. We're already 53 minutes in. We haven't even mentioned
Oh
top
my
10 yet. So
goodness.
let's keep this rolling.
All right, let's run this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So top 10. We'll start with you. 10th. Who are we rolling with 10th? In 10th.
So in 10th, I have someone that you've listed pretty long ago now. I have Fulham in 10th.
Yeah.
This is the better half of the Iberian Peninsula managerial than Julian Lopetegui. That's Marco Silva, who has been working on a project at Fulham that I have come to believe in, and he's been a manager. I think we talked about this last time, that he has been able to succeed without a star striker everywhere he's gone. And
Yeah.
honestly, that was one of your complaints about this team, and even if that was a complaint in my eye, I don't think it would be a problem with Marco Silva. But Rodrigo Muniz was great at the end of last year, and
That's true.
I think
But
he can
will
fit
he
in and
sustain
be a
it over a
15
full
goal.
year, though? He's
I
not going to
think he,
sustain it over a full year, though.
I think he could be a 15 goal season striker.
Wow.
The
Okay.
acrobatics we saw from him, good in the air,
Fair.
good finisher, good poacher. I mean, he doesn't provide much else outside of just goal scoring. I will say that. And it's an old team. Willian is still putting in minutes. Iwobi's putting in minutes. You lost Paulinho. But Marco Silva's shown that he can get jobs done with worse rosters. You have arguably the top of the outside of the big six, the top midfield in the Premier League, arguably, with a completely rejuvenated Andreas Pereira, who made the Brazilian
True.
national team.
Almost
after
forgot. I
his-
forgot about him when I was
Yeah.
listing the players. I was going to list him. I forgot about him.
after his performance last season, a deserved trip to the Copa America. Alex Iwobi, who's been great for them, and even though you lose Ja Paulinho, who I think is a big loss, you have Sasha Lukic, who is very good. Tom Kearney, who is good. I'm not gonna say very good. He's good. And then you brought in Emil Smith-Rowe, who can. I don't know what to expect from him. I really don't, because he just hasn't played consistently enough. But from what I remember during COVID Arsenal, this is a guy that has it in him to be a good player at a Premier League level on a week-to-week basis. So if we tap into the right version of ESR, which I'm expecting, we're going to be seeing a deadly 1-2-3 with him, Pereira, Willian, and then Muniz up top. I think this team could be pretty dangerous.
It's an interesting shout because one of the better midfields in the not top six.
I think so.
I don't know. I don't. So here's the better question: we're counting top six as for those who just joining the Premier League.
The big six.
The big six, which are Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, United, City. And I guess we're counting Newcastle in this now. Oh, Liverpool.
They're not. It's Liverpool.
It's Liverpool. I almost forgot about Liverpool for how irrelevant they've been in this transfer window. But like I would think Newcastle's is better, but
Newcastle and Villa are probably better on paper. Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of get what you mean with Fulham. Andres Pereira is great. Emil Smith-Rowe is a compliment. And whoever else is the third, I don't know. I don't think it's enough. But that's just me. I'm a pessimist for this type of stuff. Just like I'm a pessimist at what originally when I made my list rankings, but I changed it with Brighton, who I have in 10th. I do have the Seagulls in 10th, soaring into the top 10 when they really kind of don't deserve it. What have Brighton done? Well, let's talk about it. So Brighton lost Roberto De Zerbi right after we made the video.
Yeah.
Literally right after that happened, Roberto De Zerbi left.
It was within it was probably less than a day.
2 days.
Right?
2 days. Because I was throwing I was so mad. But Brighton, well, what did they do in response? Well, I'll pull it up in a second, I guess. Brighton went out and spent money. Kinda. They signed, I always struggle with this name. Max Wiefer. That's how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Wiefer, yeah.
That's how you're supposed to, I nailed it. The Dutch names always destroy me. They signed Minte, they signed Gruda, they signed Osman. They're not bad gets. Of course, they'll question goalkeeping, because that's just how goalkeepers are. Who's would start for them? Verbruggen, right?
Verbruggen's going to be the starter.
Verbruggen's going to start. That's not terrible, even though he's listed as injured, which, okay. Out till the deadline as well, so fair enough. But the big worry for me is the new manager, and I was thinking the same way you were with Herzler, which I know I'm saying that wrong, but we ride. I don't care.
That's how I said it as well. I don't know if
Herzler, I don't even know how to pronounce that in German. I know how to do a lot of German pronunciations. That's just one I don't know how to do. This team is they're not bad, but we had a lot of questions for them at the end of last year. They're also a team that has 1 million players. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they have a ton of players. So I'm interested to see how that works, because they're like the cheaper Chelsea in a way, because they have 1 million players.
But then Chelsea get to buy all their players for $100 million. So
fair, very fair. Though they do have a player, and I'm just gonna shout him out because he's an Arsenal player, but has a lot of potential. That's Quasar Dewberry, the winger from Arsenal, the under-21s player. Yeah. I thought Arsenal were going to re-sign him, and then they didn't. That's one of Arsenal's constant screw-ups from this losing youth national team players. One of them went to Man United, and he's like a demigod in the future. So we'll talk about him later, but Brighton, managerial questions. This is Brighton at this point. They're going to find some other player in January, and they're going to be saved. I think they're going to be fine.
Use those football manager scouts. They'll be fine.
Exactly. They'll find a Nicholas Füllkrug prototype, but in Colombia, and sign the new Nicholas Füllkrug. But I actually have to shout out Nicholas Füllkrug. Well, you know what? We'll do that later, because there's a segment later that will be shouting out Nicholas Füllkrug. But we'll go to the 9th, and we haven't mentioned a Big Six team yet. I don't think we are at this spot. No, right, Dylan?
No, I don't have one.
So go right ahead. Who do you got 9th?
I have another team you mentioned a pretty long while ago, and that's Brentford.
That's Brentford, yeah.
I really like Brentford this year, and I really liked them last year, and it didn't work out for them because of Tony's ban. But Thomas Frank is one of the best coaches in the league. I would venture to say that he is the top of the short list for when a big coach, like say Ten Hag gets the boot, or when Guardiola leaves City, or something happens. He's one of the top coaches on the short list. You said you like their defense. I like their defense in a back three. So
Yeah,
I
that's where I
like
was going
seeing
with it.
Zonka, Ben Mee, and then whether it be Christopher Ayer or Ethan Pinnock, but then you have Hickey and you have
Ah,
Rico
and then
Henry
you have.
playing fullbacks or wingbacks, and then
I kind of get what you mean.
it's a little bit hard to do with Embuemo because you're gonna need him playing through the middle.
There
But
you go.
I just have I have this vision of the team. Oh, Nathan Collins will play for this team for sure. I have this vision of the team with
Definitely.
the Danish guys in the center mid with Norgard and Jensen. You have Embuemo in front of them, and then Visa and Tony, and then Igor Thiago coming off the bench, a signing that I really liked. Just a little vision I have in my head of this team being really dangerous in a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, whatever way you want to shape it up. And then you have so much coming off the sides. If you want to change it, you have Kevin Shada who can come in as a sub and be very dangerous. You have a lot of midfield depth, whether that be Frank Onyeka, whether that be Stuart Armstrong, Josh Da Silva. You have Keen Lewis Potter, who made his impact last season at the back end of the year.
Good shout. Good shout.
These are these are players, and this is a team that know how to work together really well. They didn't bring in a lot of new guys, and the guys that they did, they clearly fit the project. And the project hasn't finished any better than ninth, and I don't think it's going to do any better than ninth. But I think this is the best team that Brentford has set out. Now, I do agree with your concerns about Ivan Toney for the future, but this year I'm expecting another good season, 15 goals.
Fair enough. Ninth. This one's gonna really stab me in the throat. West Ham, I have ninth. I had them in seventh for all but an hour before recording, and I moved them to ninth. I hate this pick so much because they did so well. They deserve Europe, but like the rest of the Premier League, this league is ruthless. But they did sign my player of the window, and we'll talk about him later. They also signed Somerville from Leeds. And I think this is a great pickup. The player from Somerville from Leeds. They signed Juan Bissaka somehow
Yeah,
because United needed wage room. They signed Tadibo from Nice, Guido
love
Rodriguez from
that
Real.
signing.
What'd you say?
I love that Tadibo signing.
Yes, I think that was a good get. They signed Max Kilman from Wolves. I think he was all right with them. What was the money they paid for Kilman? Wasn't it a lot? I have a
Yeah,
feeling it was a lot.
this is a window that was eerie of remember when Fulham just came up? I think it was maybe 2018, maybe 2019, where they had just gotten promoted and they spent a bag on
They
just
did. I do remember that.
a
Yeah.
bunch of different players that had never played together, and it was just name value, name value, name value. That's kind of what I sense, but I do think all of these guys are a lot better than the guys that Fulham signed.
Fair enough. They also signed Luis Guilherme from Palmeiras. I have
Yeah,
seen film of him. He
yeah,
looks to be really good. Good value get too for
yeah.
for just under 25 million. I think it's a great get. They've done so much right. And I think this team could be really dangerous. I have more hope for them because I don't think they're playing in Europe this year,
They're
which
not.
remember. I remember last year. I just have to say this on them. I lost a lot of faith on West Ham. And we lost a lot of faith on them in May, if you remember that video,
Yeah.
when they lost David Moyes. And then it circles all back to our good old friend Julian Lopetegui. I don't like you, sir. And I
I
have
don't
a feeling you
either.
won't be here very long. Because if they fire David Moyes after a good season, at this rate, they're going to fire Lopetegui after winning the Champions League. Because
Well,
that's just the
we
logic of
know
how
he
this team
won't be there for long because even if it's going perfectly, he's gonna resign.
How
So
long was he
it's
there with Wolves? How long was he there with Wolves?
less than a season.
Brilliant. Absolutely. He was there for under a year. Brilliant. So at this rate, he's going to stay there for 2 months. So I don't know how they screwed it up with the manager. They screwed it up. They didn't screw up anything else but manager. I love the goalkeeping situation. I think Areola would probably start for them over Fabianski. So I like where they're going there. Didn't they just sign like Emerson too? Or am I thinking of the wrong team? Yeah, I'm thinking
No,
of the wrong
they
team.
didn't
Fair
sign
enough.
Emerson.
Um, they lost a couple of players, but I think they did well. I'm proud of West Ham. They did lose Declan Rice, but at the end of the day, they saved some money. They spent it all this window, and I can totally say that they spent the money very, very well. I'm proud of West Ham. They're just gonna fall short of teams that spent like 300 million on transfers.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it is. This league is very evil, as you can tell, I think, from this video. But let's go to eighth place, and I have a feeling we both went the same direction with this. Who do you have in eighth?
Good evening. Are you ready for the new and unimproved Champions League to tank the season of a team that should be another contender for the Champions League? I'm sure you are, because Aston Villa will not be there again this year.
Ooh,
This is a
wow.
team that has everything they need. They didn't get worse. They really didn't get worse. Diaby left for Saudi Arabia. That was the one
Yeah, that
loss.
was a
And
weird
and,
one.
and Douglas and Douglas Luiz went to Juventus. That's another loss. But it's a team that overall was not that hurt by the transfer window. It's just that they're going to be playing in Europe. And this new Champions League format is going to drain teams. It's going to hurt. So I have them finishing eighth just due to the fact that every other team that's left is really good, and they may not be ready to juggle the amount of competitions they're going to. Unai Emery, I still think is a top 3 coach in this league, and will be able to do a good job juggling this disaster class of a Champions League setup. And I hate the new Champions League, by the way. Just put,
I agree.
yeah, it's horrible. But
How I'll just ask this question: how long do you think it will stay? Not long or long enough?
the question is, do they expand it? Because they're gonna have this 36 right now, and they're gonna keep this format. The question is, do they expand it if enough like high quality teams miss it?
Yeah,
So like
I
they're
don't know.
gonna this 36 is good, but say Chelsea doesn't make the Champions League again, they're gonna say we want 48. And then they're going to go
Yeah,
to 48, and they're going to be like, well, the World Cup is 48, so
yeah.
you can do 30, 48. It's a money-making thing, and they're very obvious about it. But Villa is going to finish 8th just due to the fact that the 7 teams I have above them are better suited for multiple competitions, or one of them is ready to compete without these competitions because of their drop-off last year.
Hmm. You know, there were days where spending money didn't turn you into an inevitable meme. It didn't win you meme team of the season last year for my awards ceremony, the video after we did. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Chelsea in 8th. So what they did was essentially sign a lot of young players. They also signed Pedro Neto and Kieran Dewsbury Hall and a couple of regular players. They have more goalkeepers than you could fit on a Uber XL. This team is uncontrolled chaos, led by an American. Please sack your owner. Is that even possible?
No, you
Can
can't
we
do that.
sack owners?
Can't sack an owner.
Please find a way to sack an owner because this is a disaster. I don't know how else to put it. This team is a disaster waiting to happen. Oh, by the way, it's already happened. So, Enzo Maresca. I'll touch on the bright side. I like Enzo Maresca. I thought they were going to screw it up with the managerial hiring. They went with Enzo Maresca, who, if you've been living under a rock for a long time, he was started with Sevilla. He went to Man City's under 23s, so I guess he knows how to coach youth players. I think this is maybe where they went with the direction for this. He also coached Leicester, which is why they probably signed Dewsbury Hall. Like I said, let's go to the team now. They are a mess. How the hell is this team going to be able to play all their good players and keep them within good form, good fitness, good everything that you need for a competent roster. I know like half of these players are going to be loaned out, but their roster is like 45 players. What are we? What? I can't back them doing anything. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yes, they re-signed Cole Palmer for like 9 years. So this dude's gonna be like 30 when he's here.
They're actually handing out baseball contracts. It's
They're
ridiculous.
handing.
Todd
They
Bowley, we'll get there. I'll get to my
we are
Todd
the
Bowley rant.
these guys are the Los. He's trying to be like the Los Angeles Dodgers, but just like the Los Angeles Dodgers, he wins absolutely nothing unless it's a COVID season. Did they even win anything in COVID?
I think they won the Champions League in COVID.
Yeah, that's right. And what's also hilarious is that they won one game of preseason. One. They had all those great players. You drew Wrexham, you lost to Celtic, and then you decided to spend like 300 more million on players. Go ahead, buddy. Like, Todd Bowley, I don't like you. This is not how you build a team. Like, why? Why? I don't understand. They have so many good players. If they find a way to screw this up and make me look like I'm really smart when I'm not, I will be impressed. For how many great players that they have on this team. We're just going to list a couple of them very shortly. Let's start with Cole Palmer, who's amazing. I love Cole Palmer. They also in the attack they have. They used to have Raheem Sterling, but then he fell off because his running style was terrible. Romelu Lukaku's leaving. He's been rumored to leave for about 2,000 years. Just like his pace, he takes him 2,000 years to head to the door. He's supposed to be replaced by Victor Osimhen, which that move's been rumored for like.
If that happens, though.
If that happens, this team. Watch that happen tomorrow. Did you see how fast they were with Pedro Neto?
Yeah.
It took them literally like a day. That contract was probably ridiculous. Midfield, they just lost Conor Gallagher after banishing him to the gulag known as the under-23s. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Christopher Nkunku, Enzo Fernandez, Romeo Lavia, Oguchoku. I'm not going to list any more. Moises Caicedo. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Defense. Levi Colwell. I'll just list players that are good for multiple reasons. Reece James when he's not in the hospital. Mark Cucurella. Fofana. Badiashile is solid when they play him in the right system. Colwell. Ben Chilwell. Like, this defense is great. Goalkeepers, like I said, you can fit them all on an Uber XL, and there's still not too many goalkeepers. I don't know how you do anything with this many players. I don't know. I know I'm sounding like a ticking time bomb with how many players they have, but that's the theme. This team sucks just because of how many players they have. If they figured out ways to cut down on the players, figure out not to spend so much. Granted, like half of the players they signed don't come in because Brazil's rules with like under 18 players, which is hilarious. I was gonna bring up this is another story that will finish my Chelsea quest. Chelsea is like you're watching a Romeo and Juliet in a way. Like
I know where you're going.
Say you're Brighton. You find a Brazilian, best wonder kid you've ever seen. You offer him a contract and everything goes so well. But just like how they all die in the end, all your hopes and dreams are killed by Chelsea. And they come in with all the money, they come in with all the fame and glory, and they offer more money and they steal them away. That is what this is turning into. The Wonder Kid hoarding is outrageous. They are playing Football Manager and they're failing at it miserably. I've gone on for too long about this. I hate this Chelsea team's a mess. They're an eighth. There you go. So Dylan? Let's segue from that insanity to who you have in seventh. Who do you got?
It's over. It's actually over. We no longer have to watch Jurgen Klopp energize this Liverpool team into being a top 3 team in the country anymore. This team is not it anymore. You have Mohamed Salah's last legs this year. He's got this season left in him. Maybe 2 more of Virgil van Dijk. You've put together a makeshift midfield of players that don't play well cohesively together. McAllister and Szoboszlai are clashing each other. Wataru Endo is okay. You lost Thiago to retirement. And then you have three positionless forwards in Jota, Gakpo, and Diaz, who also clash with each other. This isn't a team that is able to succeed without Jurgen Klopp. So that's already going to knock them from third to fifth. And what's going to knock them from fifth to seventh is what were they thinking in their managerial choice? Arne Slot.
I actually like him. I actually
So,
do like
so
him.
I have my own history with Arne Slot. I'm a Roma fan, if you could tell by the half poster on my wall that you can't really see. Roma draw Feyenoord every single time they get a European competition. It's been 4 years in a row now that they've played each other. Arne Slot cannot figure out the most simple Jose Mourinho team or interim Daniela De Rossi team. He just cannot coach his way around a low block. And for Liverpool, who have been able to consistently win these games because of their Geigen-pressing, high-pressing style with Jurgen Klopp, now you have older players who aren't going to just do that for some random Dutch guy. This is a team that needs not only to be motivated, but also to be positioned to succeed with their press against low block teams, and that is what I saw to be Arne Slot's weakness. So it's really not a well-made match, other than just Arne Slot having similar energy to Klopp, just like yelling wise, I guess. But that doesn't really do anything. Klopp was yelling instructions. Slot is like he's like a heavy metal singer, just yelling nonsense words at the players that don't understand him. Maybe Van Dijk will understand him because they're both Dutch, but I don't. I mean, not to say he doesn't know English. He definitely does know English, but I just don't think it's a well matched fit for coaching to team to aging to the other six teams ahead of them having just better fits, and then Liverpool being in the Champions League, trying to compete for the Champions League. I don't see it. I think they finished seventh.
Interesting shout. Very interesting shout. I have another. So last year we really hyped up a team that you had your signing of the season from last season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, this club I have a feeling is going to be a complete mess. Newcastle. Hello.
A mess.
How are you?
A mess.
So when I mean by a mess, I mean by a mess in terms of how predictable the injury bug is going to kill this team off. So to begin, Fabian Schär injured. Dan Burn just came off injury. Half of their defense is already in the hospital wing. The midfield lost Lewis Miley after like 2 days, which honestly is kind of special, even though he's projected to come back in only late October, which is actually kind of shocking to me. I thought he was going to come out way more. Callum Wilson is injured. You can probably see the theme that I'm going off with this.
I see where
They
you're
have a
going.
lot of great players. Alexander Isak I think should be on a world-class team. Newcastle is, I think, at the step below. Anthony Gordon, solid. Harvey Barnes, competent. Miguel Almiron's okay. He was decent for Paraguay in the was he on the Copa America team for Paraguay?
I believe. Actually, I think he might have been injured.
He did play. He was on that competent Paraguay team that made the knockout. I think was like okay. Callum Wilson's there, but he's already injured. Bruno Guimaraes leading the midfield, I think, is awesome. Joe Linton's there as well. Will Sandro Tonali even play? Find out in the next episode on whatever this channel is at this point. Joe Willock is also here. I like Joe Willock. But this team, I just have the weird feeling that combining injuries, which is I think is going to be the big theme for them again, and their inability to play on the road, that was a big problem they had last year. Let's go back to some numbers, because we like numbers on this channel. Stats are our main thing, and the eye test as well, but we like stats better. The drop-off on the road from them last season, oh my days. It's the defense on the road. Their goal scoring's fine. Their inability to defend on the road 22 goals conceded at home in 19 matches. Very respectable. Good numbers. They scored 49 at home, albeit they put up like 7 past Sheffield, and they put like 5 against some of the bad teams. You conceded 40 goals in 19 road games? 40! How is this possible? Blasphemous. They're doing it again. They're going to finish in 7th by like 2 points. This team could finish in a Champions League spot, but I have them in 7th. I just don't think they're going to be able to hold up with the teams I have ahead of them. Unlucky for them, I think, this season. They're going to be the team that gets really unlucky. But 6th, I think, just gets unlucky because you go to the Europa League, and honestly, do you even want to be in the Europa League anymore? Unless you're like a small team.
No,
because it's not even that fun.
it's now
who do you?
it's stupid league format also. So
Yeah. So who will be playing in the Europa Super League at this point? Because that's essentially what this is.
I'll tell you the team that's going to be playing in the Europa Super League. It's the team that thinks signing every player in the world is called building a team. Chelsea, who just cannot, for the sake of them, stop. And I actually think that this window was pretty good. Because you bring in a lot of guys for the future. It's just like they have no direction. If they bring in Osimhen, it's going to be a team that finishes top 4. I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Watch them bring in Osimhen tomorrow.
I think that's. But we have to work with what they have right now, and just unfortunately for Maresca, who I think can manage this way into a good season with Chelsea, there's too much to work with. So you have 6 and it's a good problem to have because you're injury free. You're no matter how many people get injured, you're injury free because you have 6 players waiting to take everyone's spot. But what also happens there is there's no continuity. So what you can do is you can have 2 lineups that you play, and one for the important games and one for the unimportant games. And then you have to keep everyone happy. It's almost managing a FIFA team, where you sign every single player in the world. And you have to play every single player, otherwise they get pissed at you. And then the 58 overall academy kid asks you to play in the Champions League final. But in this case, that's going to be Kellyman, who they just brought in. But this is it. Like, I said 6 center backs. I was not exaggerating. Disasi, Badiashile, Tosin Adrobiato, Trevo Chalobah, and then Levi Colwill. And let me get one more. I know there's one more. I'm not gonna look it up.
Lewis Hall left.
Lewis Hall, center back. Now I'm annoyed because I said 6 and I said I wasn't exaggerating. Now I can't exaggerate. I need one more starting and Thiago Silva's not there anymore. This is gonna bother me if I don't get it. I said
Disasi.
I said him.
Crap.
Wesley Fofana. Got it.
No.
Yeah, Wesley
Badiashile. There's another one.
Yeah. It's a team with unlimited options. Midfield. I'll say it again. 6. Now let's go. Romeo Lavia, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, Enzo Fernandez,
Nkunku.
Christopher Nkunku.
They could play like everywhere apparently.
Yeah, Leslie Ogachukwu, Cesar Casadei. Yeah, that's already 6.
Cesare Casadei. That's a name and a half right there. If you know about Cesare Casadei.
And then you have unlimited wingers. You have Mikhailo Mudryk, Cole Palmer, and Nkunku can play there. Sterling, Noni Madueke, Pedro Neto, who we'll get to. Trust me, we will get to. Carney Chukwuemeka. There's just like, what more do you need, and what more they do need is a new striker, because Nicholas Jackson was not the answer, and they're gonna go and make that move for Osimhen if they can. It's just, again, it's not a cohesive enough team to win the league, but it's enough players that, okay, this team's gonna be top 6.
Fair enough. I used to have no faith in Chelsea. Fair enough, but I'm gonna go with a team that really surprised me last year, and they confused me with the direction they went with this transfer window. Villa 6th. That's just how I'm gonna put it. Villa 6th. They brought in Onana. Good get. Maatsen. Good get. You signed Cameron Archer. They signed Archer from Sheffield. for backup striker?
Cameron Archer moment.
What? You realize? Hold on. Okay. I destroyed this man last year. I did, and I will hold nothing back from it because he got massacred in the second video, and I did it to him at the end. I'm gonna try and find this number. So for reference, what am I? Oh that. Oh yeah, I forgot they play in the championship now. So it's letting their championship stats. Cameron Archer scored 4 goals in 30 matches on a 6.4 in the Premier League last season. You signed him for 17 million? Okay.
I don't know about all
Let's
that.
let's continue. Oh, they brought in some veterans. Who do we got? Leon Dendocker?
Ooh,
Ross
that's
Barkley? What is this,
those,
2015?
those are some names. We're looking at some non-rare 76 overalls.
Yeah, I mean, but like, who did they sell? What key pieces left the room?
Douglas Luiz.
Well, Diaby left for the Saudi money. Douglas Luiz went to Juventus, even though like they have no money. And a bunch of other players left, including is that who I think? Oh my God, it's Callum Chambers. I completely forgot
Oh
he was on
my
this team.
God, Callum Chambers mentioned in
Arsenal
2024.
legend Callum Chambers. So
That's crazy.
they were confusing because they did some good signings. Onana and Matson, love them. But the backup, I cannot get over this. When I saw it happen, I got a text from my friend who said Aston Villa signed a striker. I'm like, oh my God, they finally did it. They signed a backup striker. I'm like, who did they pick? Cameron Archer.
I'm not convinced that he's better than Johan Duran.
I
Like,
mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, listen, you need like a million. You need 3 strikers in the Premier League. They signed Archer because Diaby went for 60 million. Fair enough. But you were 100% right in your evaluation earlier. This team isn't ready to play in the champ. Is not going to be able to have the squad to rotate for the Champions League. I just feel like they're going to be in a better spot than Chelsea, and I don't know. Newcastle was the one that I had ahead of them originally because I thought this Newcastle team looked better in most areas. But I trust Unai Emery more to find a way to figure this out. For better or for worse, I think Aston Villa, despite them having not enough, not great depth, is going to finish in 6th. But we're taking too long. Let's keep it rolling. 5th place. I know we have something completely different because I went with the team you mentioned already at 5th.
and I did
So
too.
who do you have in 5th place?
I have a team that I've been high on since the first video we did, and
Oh
for a
no,
ver-
not
for
this
a
again.
very similar reason.
Oh no.
The return of the man, the gambler, the Sandro Tonali, and Newcastle United, and I'm going to speak the truth about Sandro Tonali until he's actually allowed to play and the fans are allowed to see it. This team should be able to compete for the Champions League this year. If you think about it, they have a top 3 striker in the league in Alexander Isak. They have a winger duo of Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes that is dangerous. And then Bruno Guimaraes, whoever else they want to play in the midfield, and Sandro Tonali, whether that be Joe Linton, whether that be Joe Willock. And then on top of that, they sold Yakuba Minta and Elliot Anderson for a combined $70-something million. And then you look at the defense, it's the same as it was last year, which is good. They let up a lot of goals, but it's on paper it's a good defense. This team, I have them in 5th solely based on the fact that I think this is going to be a really competitive league this year, and the top 4 are going to be better. Newcastle, I'm convinced by. I think they're going to be really good.
Interesting. 5th, I have a team that I originally had in 3rd, then I moved to 4th, and now I moved them to 5th, and I feel really bad about this 5th pick because their roster is still really talented. But you talked about them earlier, and you talked about how a mess they were in certain spots. Liverpool 5th. I hate this pick so very much.
Yes, I'm bringing truth.
I had them in second in the first prediction, and then I scrapped it because I forgot they made no transfers. Um, so what did they do? Well, they hired Arne Slot from Feyenoord. Okay. Um, which off the top, how the heck did you screw that up? I mean, did Klopp have a saying in who the next manager
Yeah,
was
he
going to be?
did, and he endorsed it.
What does he know that we don't? Like, does he know? Does he think he's going to perform some Harry Potter like wizarding spells and figure out the entire midfield? I don't understand it. The only thing I understand is that this team drew Las Palmas, yet somehow beat United 3-0. Does this make any sense?
Well,
Preseason doesn't make any sense.
preseason
They
makes no
open with
sense. I will say they played a game earlier that day. They played two games in the day that they.
they did. I forgot
Yeah.
about Sevilla. But they did. But they open it up with like the easiest two matches you can think of: Ipswich Town and Brentford.
Yeah, I mean Brentford.
Fair.
I think Brentford's gonna finish 2 spots down from them. So that's
Unfortunately, well, it's Brentford at home. That's why I say easy. It's
yeah.
Brentford at home. But then they get to play like Manchester United, and then their schedule gets really easy again. Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Crystal Palace. They don't play like a real team till October 19th after the October international window. If there's any way that they're going to make noise, it's the beginning of the season. But then it's going to taper off. They're going to kind of be like Tottenham from last year, where they make a lot of noise in the beginning, and then they do nothing afterwards. Whether because of injuries, underachieving, whatever it may be, I think Liverpool will be in a Europa League spot. As much as I hate to say it, because I think this team could be top three, I still think Liverpool did not do enough in the transfer window. Albeit there's 15 days left on the day that this recording goes live. They're gonna have an opportunity to do something, but with the fact that you had Zubamendi reject you to go back to Sociedad, that's hilarious. I don't know how you screw that up. That's amazing work. Clap it up. How do you screw that up? Well done. The fact that Zubamendi stayed at Sociedad and rejected Liverpool, I think he rejected a couple
Liverpool,
other big.
Bayern, Saudi Arabia, Barca, I think Arsenal, but they
Barca
weren't
didn't have the
really.
money. Bayern he rejected because he wasn't going to play, and Liverpool because they're a mess. Liverpool are in a weird spot. They still got Trent. They still got Van Dijk. They still got Salah. They still got Alisson in goal. They signed Mardiashvili, who's going to be their goalkeeper in the future, which great get.
Yeah.
He could start on a lot of these teams that we've mentioned already and be great for them. So they've done. That's been their big get is a goalkeeper they're loaning out. They're going to loan out a goalkeeper before Aaron Ramsdale gets loaned out from Arsenal. That's amazing. But Liverpool, they haven't done enough. They haven't really done anything. I'm going to put them in fifth. So Champions League time, I was going to play the song, but this video will be demonetized. So I want this video to go live on YouTube because if you know this channel well, we've had 2 videos taken down by YouTube because of copyright. So Dylan, Champions League time. Who do you have in fourth?
The team that I had in 12th last year, and that is
Oh, that's
Tottenham
right.
Hotspur.
And you had to say a freaking.
I had to
And
do
you
my
had to do a
commentary.
whole commentary on Tottenham.
So this team is exactly what proved me wrong. Exactly what proved me wrong, plus a striker, which was why they didn't even make the Champions League last year. And Dominic Solanke is a one-man machine on his own that can get a team like Bournemouth into a 12th place finish last year, or it might have been 13th place finish last year. You put him on a team with Young-Min Son and Brennan Johnson on the sides. You put him on a team with a stable coaching program and a system that is going to be very attacking friendly. You're going to see 20 goals from Dominic Solanke this year, and you're going to see Tottenham Hotspurs making the Champions League comfortably. I don't have them challenging for the title because Tottenham going to Tottenham, but I really like everything I see in this team, this midfield that I hated last year. And you remember from the first video that we did.
Oh, yeah.
I hated this midfield. Like with a passion. James Madison is good, Rodrigo Bentancur is good, and even Yves Bissouma's missing some time because of the injury, but Pape Matar Sarr was good at the end. And they just brought in Archie Gray, who I don't know how good he'll be, but he should be good. And then The reason that this team is so good is because, and listen to me when I say this.
Here we go again.
Don't brush this to the side. Mickey Van de Ven and Christian Romero is the best center back duo in the world. The best center back duo in the world.
That's not where I thought you were going with
in
this.
my eyes, Christian Romero has been, in my eyes, a top 10 player in the world over the course of the last 2023 to 2024. The second best center back in the world behind Antonio Rudiger. He is a menace in the air, wins every ball on the ground, great ball progression, great tackler. There's no hole in his game. And Mickey Van de Ven might just be the Flash. So you have those two combined for a full season, and you are going to be seeing fantastic results. The downside is the fullbacks are complete bums. You're serious? You're playing Pedro Porro in 2024? Destiny Adoji.
Archie Gray's listed as a fullback on FootMob, so maybe they play him there.
Not going to happen.
To replace Emerson Royale.
Sergio Reguilon 2024, come on. But this team is just going to be off of the title race. I think the top two is going to be a title race. Third place is another team that I see similarly to Tottenham right now. But keep an eye out on that defense. I really do think it's the best center back pairing in the world.
That's bold. I have them not even as the best center back duo in the league. I have them second. You'll hear about the first place.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah. So, fourth, drum roll please. I'm not even going to hold you guys even to do that. It's Tottenham again. We're going on the I think our next two picks are completely identical. Very similar reasons with Tottenham. They proved both of us wrong. Well, proved me kind of right because I had them at least like in a decent position. Tottenham itself, we addressed this in the last video. We don't know who their striker is going to be. Well, they signed one of our favorite players from last year in Dominic Solanke, which I am intrigued to see how that looks. Because this can go so well or so horribly wrong, and I have no idea what we're even going to see at this point. So this can go to glory or to absolute crap. But at the end of the day, this team is strong. You brought up the center backs. I also love the center backs, even though they're a rival of the team I like. You have a Flash, the guy who runs and is like strong, and you have a guy who's just strong but like can pretty much take everyone one-on-one that he faces. Christian Romero and Mickey Van de Ven are heading towards the league of their own. The one thing that's going to question the things for me, and like this happened with a couple of the big teams last year, was their inability to play on the road compared to at home. And now, yes, it is difficult to play on the road in the Premier League, but the drop-off in production is crazy. And not even in terms of the offense. The offense was fine. But the lack of defending in the final third on the road is what's going to make this team finish fourth and not third. Because this team was in third for the majority of the time I was making these predictions, and I switched them last second. They don't win on the road. They don't draw on the road very much. I mean, that's where all their draws even were during the season. They just don't do enough. The transfer window, they signed Archie Gray. I love Archie Gray. I think they can play him really anywhere. You arrive at the fullbacks, they're kind of suspicious. They signed a Dragusin from Genoa. Okay. Just depth at this point.
Hold on. This is a news break.
Wait, hold on, chat.
According to Fabrizio Romano, Bournemouth have agreed on a deal to sign Brazilian striker Evanilson from Porto.
Oh, they actually got it done.
$47 million.
Where did they get the money from? Oh, yeah, Dom Solanke.
Yeah.
Well, I'm screwed. Wait, where did you have Bournemouth?
No higher than you did. I had them...
I had them 12th?
Yeah, I think I had
GG's to our predictions, chat. Now, can we get a quick GG's in the YouTube comments? YouTube comments are going to be flying. But, like how long it'll take for us to get absolutely annihilated on the YouTube comments, we have to keep it moving because we're already at an hour 40, and we still have 4 more segments left. So, Dylan, I'll give you first crack because I already know who you have in third. Introduce us to one of the Manchester clubs, I believe is you have in third.
Yep, I'll break it quickly. Man U. I really, really like what they've done this window in solidifying the center back room. Lenny Yoro, and then we'll get to Matthias de Ligt a bit later. But the midfield is shored up with Cubby Mainu coming in and being a real presence for them. The wingers, I think Garnacho is going to have an improved year. I think Rashford should get back to form. Højlund is in for another full season, and Xerxes is off the bench in case they need anything. It's just a team that screams secure to me. And good coaching, secure team, and great center back play is the key to having a good Champions League run. Bruno Fernandes, I didn't even mention him. He's the best player on this team. He is going to be immense for Manchester United this year. We're looking at a COVID season from him. If what I'm seeing is going to go the way that it's going to go, this team's going to be very good.
Yeah, I also have Manchester United in third. You almost forgot to mention one of my favorite signings of the whole window, Nazar Mazraoui.
Yeah,
who I thought was this close to being my signing of the season, but I don't like picking defenders for this, so I didn't pick a defender. The one thing that's going to be the entire question for me, if you look from this year to this season to last season, was the inability, I think, in the final third. They were a very frustrating team last year. A healthy season from Rasmus Højlund, my signing of the season from last year. Bruno Fernandes, he's amazing. Garnacho's amazing. They have a lot of great players. It's just, can they put it all together? The defense, Lenny Yoro played all of 20 minutes, I think, and then he's out for 3 months.
Yeah.
So GG's to him. And then they replaced him with They also got Matthias de Ligt, which that transfer took 2 months to happen because that's how this works at this point. Mazraoui's going to replace Wan-Bissaka, which I think they got an upgrade with Mazraoui. I love Mazraoui. He's a great get. We talked about Lenny Yoro and Joshua Xerxes, who I think will be a competent backup to replace. Who would be that role in the start? Usually as a backup before the window. What was that? Martial's role at this point?
Martial or Rashford.
It's
up
bad.
Top,
That's bad. It's just bad. That's all you need to know. A front three of Garnacho, Rashford, and probably Højlund looks amazing. I'm excited to see how this looks, but this is where this could all go to hell. Who do you have in second?
I'm actually going to ask you who you have winning the league first, just so we can.
Oh, so we're going me first.
Just quickly, who you have winning the league?
I have Arsenal winning the league.
All right, so
I
let's
do have Arsenal
so let's
winning
do
the league.
this. Let's do this. This is going to be fun. I have Man City winning the league, and instead of breaking it down the way we usually do, let's have an argument right now. Because
this will take about all of 6 minutes, I think, because we don't have a lot of time.
I just don't know how Arsenal can take this step that they need to. First of all, the reason I have Man City winning the league is this is Pep's last dance. He's done after this.
Yeah.
This is his last
Good
dance.
shout.
He is
Fair.
not leaving on a low. And Arsenal, other than adding Aura Merchant, Ricardo Calafiori, have done close to nothing in the rest of this window that they needed to bring in a star striker. And that was what was the difference in Man City and Arsenal last season, was they had Erling Haaland compared to Gabriel Jesus, or compared to Kai Havertz, or whoever it was at whatever points in the season. That's what the difference was. So that's why I have Man City winning. They have more solid striking options. I think the defenses are comparable. I think Man City's midfield is a little bit better, but they also are prone to games where they just sleep a little bit. The striker is the difference. And also Pep being a maniac. But why do you have Arsenal winning?
The one thing that hurt Arsenal in the middle of the season was injuries in defense. And what did they do in defense? They signed Ricardo Calafiori, who could literally play anywhere. A healthy season full with him and Jurriën Timber being part of a back line.
Timber. Yeah.
You have Ben White as well. He'll probably slide in on the left. You could put right back. You could literally put whoever other than Alexander Zinchenko, and you're fine. Tomiyasu could start, and I wouldn't be mad. Gabriel and William Saliba is the best center back duo, I think. It's very close between them and
reasonable.
Tottenham.
It's reasonable.
I think Saliba's arguably. I think he's a top 2 center back in the world. I don't know who. I struggled with that debate for a long time. It's going to be the goal scoring. I 100% agree with you. The goal scoring is where it's going to need to come from. But with Arsenal being rumored with Mikel Merino for as long as they have, that's your replacement for Jorginho. That was one of the things they wanted to touch on. Midfield replacement, because it was supposed to be Pedro Neto. If you remember from the transfer targets, Pedro Neto was supposed to be the midfielder they signed. But they failed. They went for Mikel Merino. That move is still in progress. They signed Calafiore, which took way too long. Who will the striker be? I just don't know. That's going to be the one thing I'm worried about. Pep's last dance is going to be interesting. But with the lack of moves they've done as well,
Yeah.
it's going to be a very interesting round to the end. City is a great team. It could be a last dance for them because Dylan, another reason I didn't put them in first, because we have no idea where the 115 charges is going to end or how it will end. Could this result in them being banished to non-league? Could they be banished out of the football pyramid entirely?
Now that
We
would
don't
be
know how this is going to end.
That would be a commentary for me to write. But
Oh, absolutely. And it would be one of the greatest things we'd ever see. Because I think if Man City get relegated somehow, you have to do a commentary.
I agree with that. But
GG.
I don't think they're going to get hit with the charge. I think the charge will
Really?
come in some sort of transfer ban or some sort of financial punishment. It's not going to be at the sake of the club because Man City is too much of a moneymaker for the league that they kind of can't do that. Although I will say it would be so entertaining to put Man City on negative 40 points and see what happens and see if they can survive.
I think they'd say
I think they would. But that would be such an interesting experiment.
Oh my God! Yes, that would be the great.
I would love
greatest
that.
things ever. That'd be amazing. I think they would stay at. I think there would be 3 teams worse than them.
I think they would stay up. I actually think they'd probably finish ahead of Everton too. I think they'd be like 16th.
Absolutely. I'd probably put them in like 14th. Around there.
Because they'd probably end negative 40. They usually end on 90 something points. Yeah, they'd be fine.
Yeah.
But
I want to touch on a couple other things before we head to our signings of the season.
Of course.
Arsenal. I'm calling you out again for the second time in 3 weeks. How the heck did you mess up the youth players again? So, what am I talking about? Well, Arsenal last year had one of the best youth strikers on a youth national team. On a youth team. Beg my pardon. And that particular striker, let me go find his name real quick because I'm blanking on the name. He's really, really good. Where the hell did he go? He went to Manchester United. That's all I really remember. They lost their best youth player in a long time to Manchester United, and he's the possibility of being the striker of the future for them. Where is he? I can't find him. Amazing. Like, they can't manage youth team players. So that's the only real knock I have on them. But signing Calafiore, really shoring up the defense, please move Zinchenko. I am tired of watching him. All I've learned from this Arsenal team is that Manchester City's, like, when players leave Man City, they suck. That's apparently what I've learned. But this Premier League, of course, I have Man City in second. They're a great team. I think it's going to be separated by less than 5 points. Yeah. The big thing is going to be Arsenal's health and who will be able to keep up with pace in the other. It's literally going to be a race the entire way. And I'm so excited to see how it goes.
I am.
But Dylan, we're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Of course not.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my favorite time of the video. We get to see the signings and the flop of the season. I'm interested to see who you put it. I think I know who your signing of the season is going to be. Because for the first time in this series, someone picked a defender as their signing of the season.
It needed to happen.
I didn't. I picked a striker. But who did you pick as your signing of the season?
I hinted at it earlier. My signing of the season is Matthias de Ligt for Manchester United.
Good get.
So,
good thinking.
This is someone who has struck me as someone who should be one of the best defenders in the world from the time he was at Ajax to now. And that includes his stint at Bayern last year, which was a split tale. It was a half of the season he was phenomenal and a half the season where he didn't really play because Upamecano and Kim Min-jae were also phenomenal. But his time at Juventus was as well very split because there was time where he was sitting behind Bonucci, Chiellini, Bremer, Gatti, Rugani, whoever was there in that stacked Juventus room. But there was also times where he made some of the greatest tackles you will ever see. So during this dark period for Juventus where I think they won one league title while he was there, post Ronaldo, he was a bright spot. And I think bringing him into his old coach and old mentor in Eric Ten Hag to now work him with his old partner in Lisandro Martinez to have him next to his old other partner in Nazar Mazraoui. Comfort does benefit skill a lot, and in a window that I didn't see a lot of really good signings, I feel comfortable saying Matthias de Ligt is the signing of the summer.
That's a great shout. My signing of the window is going to be why a team could potentially finish top 6 despite having an incompetent manager. The signing of the season is Nicholas Füllkrug to West Ham United.
Oh.
Now, I was debating on this one for a long time because my original pick was Lenny Euro, but then he got injured. And then it would have been annoying with the theme. So I went with my second pick. And we'll just explain the timeline of Nicholas Füllkrug. A player who was stuck on started at Werder Bremen, eventually went back to Werder Bremen and was putting up goals like crazy. Puts up a good season for Borussia Dortmund, including a player who's got to play in the Champions League final. And now he gets to play on West Ham. What a drop off!
Champions League final.
What a drop off! Like, what a weird move. But it's gonna be so good. I have a feeling it's gonna be so good. The talent he has. Let's just explain the last couple of seasons for our boy Nicholas Füllkrug. He has scored over 16 goals in each of his last 3 seasons, full seasons, including a season last year where he had 15 goals and 11 assists in 43 matches for Dortmund. So with the team that West Ham has brought together, despite Lopetegui not knowing what he's doing, I think a guy who's a real leader, a player who is able to score twice in a home Euros for Germany, a player who I think will have momentum heading into the season, despite his team not winning the home Euros. Which, how do you screw that up? At the end of the day,
Spain
I had
so
a whole
good.
rant on this already, so I'm not going to go into this again. But I just feel too confident, and this is a move that's just on feel alone. A player who's been so good over the last couple of years, continuing the momentum at a club like West Ham, I think is perfect and could be one of the main reasons that this club could finish not only I think minimum 9th, but could maybe finish top 6. I think it could be on the cards led by one of the new signings of Nicholas Füllkrug. It's an interesting one.
I don't have any problems with that, and I like Füllkrug this season. My one issue with that is he relies on overlapping wingers a lot, and I don't know if that's Jared Bowen's
I was
strong
thinking the
suit.
same thing when I made the pick, but I just feel like
But
Kudus will figure it out.
yeah, I also think
He's too good.
he could
He's
just
too
bang
good
in
to not
goals.
figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, time to see who will be joining our journey of failure. Who is your flop of the season?
This isn't even his fault. So it really isn't, because he's a great player who
Oh my god.
is just like put into a situation where how do you expect him to thrive? $60 million from Wolves to Chelsea to probably play 15 games. So you're expecting the world out of Pedro Neto, and he can deliver you the world if he has the chance to play. But are you going to start him over Palmer, Madueke, Sterling, Mudryk, whoever else you want? The next guy you sign? No. Pedro Neto is not better than all of those players. So how are you going to expect him to be the most expensive signing you're going to have this window and live up to the expectations? You just can't expect that. He is going to score 3 goals this season. It's not his fault. Free him. Send him back somewhere that will respect him. He hasn't even played a minute yet, and I'm already calling him a prisoner. It's just unfortunate. I feel bad for him. I don't want to hate on him as a player. He's very good. It's just like free my guy.
I get what you mean. We're thinking very similar. My flop of the season is Kiernan Dewsbury Hall for very similar reasons.
That makes sense.
So, why do I really point out this? So, like I said earlier, I love numbers, and I like watching tape. Over his first 2 seasons for Leicester, how many goals do you think he scored in, 78 appearances? How many goals do you think he scored?
I'm gonna go 27.
He scored 5.
Whoa.
5!
78 appearances?
44 in his first season. 34 in the second.
5 goals?
According to Foot Mob, 5 goals. Including, in his first season, a whopping 1 in the Premier League. In the second, he scored both in the Prem, actually, so fair enough. He did better in the second season despite playing less games. He emerged out of nowhere because he played in the Championship. And what did he do in the Championship? What do you think he did? He actually scored goals. Wow, a foreign concept. Unbelievable. You wouldn't expect me to say that. He put up 12 and 15 in 49 games. There you go.
Congrats.
Fair enough. This screams disaster because he's proven nothing in the Premier League as a whole on the stat sheet. And that's what you kind of need in a situation like this. Kieran Dewsbury Hall should be on a lower level Premier League team or back in the Championship. He should not be on this team. He will be ruined by this team. Save this man. Send him back to Leicester. Or he'll score 2 goals again. At this rate, he's on pace to score 2 goals again. But just like some of these players' careers could be running out of time because of how they're getting rotten by Chelsea, this video does have to end eventually. So, Dylan, thank you so much for joining this Premier League prediction video. It's a pleasure having you on the channel. We'll have Dylan's links in the description. Additionally, an Instagram post will be going out at the time of this video ending. So right before the opening match, we'll be having both of our Premier League tables up on Instagram once again, so you guys can see how bad we are at the end of the season. I cannot wait to hear those comments again, because I got them at the end of the year. We were both bad. Though I got 2 right predictions on the dot, and Dylan got 1. So GG.
Yeah.
And he had to do the commentary last year. So comment down below, who do you guys think will be saying a commentary at the end of the season? And once again, Dylan, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the channel once again.
Love doing it.
And for now, I'm Robbie Basel saying good night. See you guys next time.